OK ね。ここね、30分ぐらいするとね、レッコがね、切れちゃうの。これもレッコがなくなった。はい、すみません。
Okay, good morning. Thank you for coming to my presentation.
どうしたの？
So the theme of my presentation today is called How to Win Friends, Influence People, and Be a Better Person. Okay. So originally this was a book written in 1936 by Dale Carnegie. This book has sold over 15 million copies, and it continues to be a great seller. It is a proven method to improve your social skills. Many famous businessmen and leaders have recommended this book. And there's a Japanese title for this book as well. It's called Hito Ugokasu. A very famous book. Okay, Warren Buffett has highly recommended this book. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about Warren Buffett. He's my favorite investor, my favorite businessman. When Warren Buffett was young, he was a brilliant investor, but he was not socially skilled. He had very few friends. He was not good at public speaking. In fact, he had many enemies. Many of his teachers did not like him. Many of his classmates did not like him. He read Dale Carnegie's book and it changed his life. He says this is one of the best books ever written. And today, many people regard Warren Buffett as the best businessman in the world. He treats all his people with kindness and justice. So many people want to do business with Warren Buffett. So he is an investor. Many people sell their company to Warren Buffett, but they sell their company to Warren Buffett at a cheaper price just because they like him. So Dale Carnegie's main principle is about human pride. His main idea is that all humans have hidden pride in their heart. How many of you know Al Capone? Al Capone was the most famous American criminal and mafia boss. He murdered many people, he stole millions of dollars, and he operated many illegal businesses. Yet, when he was finally captured, when the police captured him, in the interview, Al Capone thought of himself as the victim. He didn't say to the police, I'm wrong, I'm bad guy, you're the good guy. In the interview, he really thought that he was the good guy and the police were the bad guy. He said, I'm the victim, the police are so bad, I'm just trying to live a happy life. I help so many people. He really thought of himself as the good guy. He didn't think that he was a criminal.
But something I don't understand. He murdered many people, but still he is not guilty?
Sure, but he would say, oh, I didn't murder the good people, I murdered the bad people.
So he really did good things.
Yeah.
Even he killed someone.
Yeah, he thought he was a good guy. And this is the picture of one of his murders. So he murdered these people. So Dale Carnegie's point is that everyone is not a murderer, everyone is not a mafia boss, but everyone is similar to Al Capone in that humans, they think they're always good, they think they're right, they have human pride. So humans are not rational beings. Rational beings look at data and make a decision. Humans are operated by emotion or pride and ego. Okay? All humans have hidden pride in their heart. They naturally view themselves as good, and they choose to ignore data that says they are bad. If something bad happens, most people think they are the victim. not the bad person. Most criminals, including Al Capone, think of themselves as heroes. They think the police are the bad people. During the Nuremberg trials, many German officers said that they were good people, but they were victims of bad leaders. So the German officers in World War II, they had murdered, they killed thousands of people. But during the Nuremberg trials, they said, I have a wife, I have a family, I'm a good person. But it's the other people that are bad. The leaders are bad. And that's why we did bad things. So they really thought of themselves as good people. Many of the Japanese soldiers after World War II, they went back to Japan, they became doctors and lawyers and businessmen. So those people were viewed as good people. They became normal people with families and children. And in their interviews, they said, oh, I'm just a normal person. I mean, they didn't think of themselves as being bad people. Let me ask you, at work, how many times have you thought that you were wrong? If you had a disagreement at work, how many times did you think, oh, I'm wrong? How many times did you think your boss or your colleague was wrong? Do you see my point? Probably 99% of the time, you think the other person is wrong. You never think you're wrong. Okay? Well, when you go to nomikai and you complain about work, right? When you complain about people, you never complain about yourself. You never say, oh, I was wrong, I made this mistake. You always say, oh, my boss is this, he's so stupid, my colleague is so stupid, he's so lazy, right? No one ever says they're wrong. When you have disagreement in your family, how often do you think your kids or wife or husband is wrong? How often do you think, oh, I'm wrong? But probably, in your case, most of you think, oh, my husband is so stupid, my husband's wrong. And when there's a traffic accident, how often do you think your own driving is not good? Well, how often do you think the other people's driving is bad? You always think the other people's driving is bad, right? Sometimes when I'm driving, there's almost an accident. There's a dangerous situation. And then I look at the other driver, and then he looks at me, and he looks very angry. He thinks it's my fault, but I think it's his fault. Right? Before World War II, the Germans considered themselves the victim of World War I. Even though they had started World War I, they thought, oh, the rules are unfair, it's not fair. Even today, North Koreans, they believe they are the victim of American aggression. They don't think, oh, we're so dangerous, we're so bad. They think we're just trying to defend ourselves. The Americans are wrong. So Dale Carnegie's main point of how to win friends and influence people is to understand the human heart, that all humans have this pride and ego. They're not rational. Okay, here's an interesting story. John Rabe was a German businessman living in Nanking during World War II. With his own money, he saved 200,000 Chinese civilians from Japanese slaughter. He wrote a letter to Hitler about the Japanese. He said, oh, Hitler, he was a Nazi. John Rabe was a Nazi. He wrote to Hitler saying, we are partners with Japan. We must stop the Japanese army. They're doing terrible things in China. We have to stop them. Okay? Sugihara Chiune was a Japanese ambassador living in Lithuania. He saw Germans killing thousands of Jews. So he used his power to save many Jews. And he also wrote back to the government of Japan about the Germans. So Sugihara, he wrote to the government of Japan, and he said, oh, the Germans are doing horrible things in Europe. You are partners with the Germans. You have to stop them. We have to stop them. Now, do you see the interesting situation? They both wrote back to their own country, and they totally ignored the crimes that their own country was doing, and they only reported the crimes that the other country was doing. John Ray wrote to Hitler. Hitler was the worst guy in the world, and John Ray was talking to Hitler as if Hitler was the hero, the good guy. He was writing to Hitler saying, oh, us Germans, we're the good people. We have to stop the Japanese. They're the bad people. And Sugihara Chune was writing to the Japanese government saying, we're the good people. We have to stop the Germans. They're the bad people. Do you see that irony? The irony is that both Germany and Japan were committing war atrocities. Yet John Ray and Sugihara only paid attention to the other countries' crimes. Okay? So this is John Ray, the German businessman, Sugihara Chune. Now let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you have watched a movie or watched a TV documentary or read a book about Sugihara Chune. Okay, now keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Raise your hand if you have read a movie, watched a book, or watched a TV series about John Ray. Do you see that? So almost all of you have watched a movie or TV about Sugihara Chune, and none of you have watched about John Ray. Why is that? Why is that? The answer is very simple. Humans choose to look at data that is consistent with their view of themselves. They like data that says, I'm a good person, I'm good, right? And they choose to ignore data that is inconsistent with their view of themselves. That's the human nature. They like movies, they like data, they like information that is consistent with their view of themselves. Okay? And if I were to go to Germany and ask the same question, the exact same results would happen. All Germans would know John Ray, but none of them would watch Sugihara Chune. Do you see? That's the human pride. Okay? They don't want to be fair. They want data that says I am a good person.
As for Japanese, as for German,
Yeah.
that data, but other countries, people say, what?
Well, like me, I know both of them, so I try to be fair. So I know both of them.
You know the both.
No, you mean that you are the special person
No, I mean,
as an American.
like, I think Americans would know both of them.
No? No. Then what did you say?
I mean, of course, they're not as famous as like Schindler. Schindler is the most famous. But I think all historical Americans would know both. Intelligent Americans would know both of them. Yeah. But my main point is Japanese, they ignore here and they focus there, and the Germans would do the opposite. They would focus here and ignore there. Okay. Here are some interesting facts about John Ray's show. Okay. Well, you said not ignore. Are you going to watch the John Ray movie now?
John Ray?
Will you watch the John Ray? You said,
No.
will you watch the John Ray movie?
No.
You won't watch it.
I want to.
Yeah, do you want to watch it?
If it's possible.
If it's possible.
So
My point is, some of you may think, oh, I didn't ignore it, I just didn't know about it, right? But how many of you will choose to watch it now? Probably not so many, to be honest. In my guess, it's not so many of you will choose to watch it. And that's okay, I'm not blaming you.
But now maybe as for the history, so we can see,
Sure.
we need to
Sure.
watch, I think.
Sure. Okay. But let me give you some more facts. So the German director of the John Ray movie, it was a German director, he said the most difficult part in making the film was interference of China-Japanese relationships. The Chinese government at that time was working with the Japanese government on gas exploration. So they did not want to produce the movie. So the Chinese government told the director, the German director, you cannot make the movie because we want good relationships with Japan, because we're working on this gas exploration. However, a couple years later, a high school textbook was published in Japan that made no mention of the Nanking episode. And after that, the Chinese government decided to allow the film to be produced because they were upset that the new textbook was produced and it didn't say anything about Nanking. The film debuted in the Berlin Film Festivals and received very high reviews. Despite this fact, when the director brought the film to Japan, all Japanese film companies refused to watch the screening. So this is very important. They didn't watch the movie and say, it's not so good, we don't want to sell it. They chose not to watch it. They refused to watch it. So there's a big difference.
Yeah, if you don't watch it, we cannot say good or bad. So from the beginning, they even didn't want to watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. So all of this is just to show the points that Dale Carnegie makes of human pride. Okay, Dale Carnegie's book centers around this basic theory of human psychology. All humans believe they are good. They ignore data that says they are bad. Humans are not rational beings. They are operated by pride and ego. To make friends and influence people, we must understand the psychology of other people. Okay? So look at the other people in this room. If you want to make friends and influence them, if you want to make friends with them, you have to understand the basic concept. They think they're right. They always think they're right. And to make friends with them, you have to accept that fact. So first off, the Dale Carnegie's principle, never criticize or complain. Okay? Because the other people, again, they always think they're right. Never criticize or complain. Humans have pride. They cannot hear your criticism or complaint. You may, in fact, be right, but other people are too proud and they cannot hear it. People cannot accept the fact that they are wrong or bad. So criticizing people is not effective. Criticism does not make change. It just makes anger. Instead of criticizing, first try to understand the other person. So criticizing is not effective because the other person has human pride. So they just get angry. B.F. Skinner experiment on operant conditioning. In 1948, B.F. Skinner, a Harvard professor, he studied the effects of positive and negative conditioning. So he was trying to train a mouse, to teach a mouse. So every time the mouse did the good thing, he would give a positive reward. So he would give some food, a positive reward. And when the mouse did something bad, he would give a negative punishment. So he would give an electric shock to try to teach the mouse. And what B.F. Skinner found was that the electric shock did not have a good teaching result on the mouse. So the mouse didn't react well to the negative punishment, but the mouse did react well to the positive reward. So when you're teaching your kids, if you give them a negative punishment, they won't learn very well. Or if you have a company and you're trying to motivate your employees, if you give them a negative punishment, they don't react well. They just become angry. But if you give them a positive reward, that's how they react. They react well to the positive reward. That's what B.F. Skinner found.
Actually, in that case, what is good things and what is bad things?
For example, let's say your son doesn't do his homework, okay, and then you punish him. You hit him, or you yell at him, or something. You criticize him. That's a negative punishment.
I understand, but in that case, I mean,
In the mouse case, it was the electric shock.
what is good things?
The good thing was he gave him food. So he gave food to the mouse. That was the positive reward. So the positive reward was giving food. The negative punishment was the electric shock.
What's the bad action for mouse? What?
The bad action, I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember what the bad action was. Yeah. Just anything. Like maybe B.F. Skinner said, like, up or something, and then he wanted the mouse to jump or something. It could be anything. He was just trying to teach the mouse something.
But maybe the Skinner must consistent with same action.
Yeah.
Must define the same action.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe. So mouse don't understand that which is good or bad. So this is good action, this is bad action.
Yeah.
The Skinner must define
Yeah.
good or bad
Yeah.
for mouse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. So when he gives the reward, the mouse knows the good action. So the mouse learns the good action after he gets the reward. It's like your kids, right? If you give them a gift after they do their homework, they think, oh, if I do my homework, I get a present. So that's good. Okay. So, with that, humans have high pride. They want to hear praise. So give people honest and sincere appreciation and praise. So the key point, it has to be honest and sincere. The only way to make people do something is if they want to do it. Humans have an incredible desire to feel important. Some criminals post on Facebook to tell their friends about their crime because they want to feel smart or important. So I read a case in America. A high school boy, he did a computer trick and he changed his exam score through the computer to make it higher so he could go to a good university. And then he was successful. He could do it. But then he posted on Facebook, I changed my exam score. So it's very stupid to tell the world that you did this crime. But the reason he did that was so all his friends say, oh, you're so cool, you're so smart. He has a very strong desire to feel important. Most people try to feel important by buying a big house, by buying a nice car or clothes, or they show off their job title. Oh, I'm Hitachi or whatever. They try to show off their job title and accomplishments. Okay? So by praising people, that's how to win friends and influence them. So don't criticize them because they don't want to hear criticism. They want to hear honest and sincere appreciation. Sigmund Freud said the greatest motivation for humans was the desire to feel important. So do you all know who Sigmund Freud is? He's a very, very famous psychologist. John Dillinger was a famous bank robber. And when he robbed banks, he would shout, after he robbed the banks, he would shout, I am John Dillinger. So he didn't hide his crime. He wanted people to know about him. He wanted people to know. He got his sense of importance from being a very successful criminal. So he wanted to be famous. According to data in US, the #1 reason women divorce their husband is lack of appreciation. That they don't feel important. So this is John Dillinger, and this is the movie about him. So this is a very good movie about his life called Public Enemies. Okay, humans have an incredible desire to feel important. Why do so many salarymen love their job title? Okay, why do they work so much? Like, work is probably not so fun for them, but why do they sometimes ignore their family and work so late? Because they get an incredible sense of importance from their job. They feel important because of their job. Why do athletes want to go to the Olympics and win a gold medal? Why do they want gold medals so much? Because they feel special, they feel important. Have you ever seen athletes 20 years after the Olympics? Usually they become very fat, they become very depressed and sad because they felt so important. I have a gold medal, I feel so important. 20 years later, nobody remembers them. Now they don't feel important and they become very depressed. Why do people want expensive houses and cars and clothes? They want to show off their money. They want to show I'm important. Why do young girls want to be famous idols? Right? They want attention, they want to feel important. Why do people brag about their university or their company? Or, this one is funny, their stocks. Why do people brag about their stocks? I know some people, when the stocks are going up, they brag about their stocks. Oh, I'm buying this, I'm making so much money. Okay? They want to feel important. They want to feel smart. When the stocks are going down, they don't say anything. In fact, when the stocks are going down, they're gone. They're not investing anymore. Okay? Oh, here's another one. Why don't Yakuza hide their membership? Yakuza, they want you to know that they are Yakuza. They don't hide it because they feel important. I'm a Yakuza. I'm strong. I'm powerful. I'm a member of this group. They feel important. So Benjamin Franklin, he was a very, very successful, famous American businessman and politician. He said, I will speak ill, so I will speak badly of no one. I will never say bad things about people. And speak all the good I know of everybody. So I will only say good things about everyone. I will never say bad things about them. Because he knew this was the way to win friends and influence people. So Carnegie's third point is to seek to understand. Seek to understand the other person and suit other people's desire. So let me ask you a question. When you go fishing, do you give the fish chocolate and cake? I mean, you like chocolate and cake, right? But when you go fishing, do you use chocolate and cake to catch the fish? Or do you use worms, right? Of course, you use the food that the fish likes. You don't use the food that you like. It's the same when you work with people, when you deal with people. Don't give them what you like. Give them what they like. To influence people, you must understand other people's perspective and other people's desire. Never talk about what you want. Talk about what the other person wants. Understand the other person's thinking. Give people what they want, not what you want. Okay, so it's very important to understand the other person. Okay? So let me give you an example of that concept. Here are two job requests. Now, you tell me which job request is better, which one is more powerful. I'm very interested in your job as an engineer. This job is very close to my home, so it's very convenient for me. Your company is very stable, so I feel happy and secure in your company. I like the people, and you have a good manager, so I would have a fun time working in your company. Okay? Now let's read this one. I'm very interested in your job as an engineer. I have experience in this field, so I can contribute to your company immediately. Because your company is stable, I believe I can use your processes to work very efficiently and be productive. Additionally, because I have a good relationship with your manager, I believe I can execute his plan very well. Which job request do you think is better? Which one is better? How many of you think the left one is better? You think the left one is better? How many people think the right one is better? Okay? Yeah, of course the right one is better. You see, actually, the two letters are saying the same thing. They're talking about the same points, the company and the manager and whatever. But this one is all about me. It's convenient for me. I'm happy, I'm stable, I'm this, I'm this. It's all about me. This one is about the company. The company will be good. The company will be productive. Okay? So that's Dale Carnegie's point. Understand the other person's perspective. Okay? They don't care if you're happy. They care if they're happy. They want to be happy. They don't want you to be happy. So now let's take all of Dale Carnegie's points, okay? And let's look at this letter that I wrote. I wrote this letter, and let's use Dale Carnegie's ideas to examine this letter. So this is a letter to Japan from the government of China about Yasukuni. Now I wrote this, okay? To the President of Japan, you must stop your visits to Yasukuni immediately. Japan has a long history of war and aggression, killing millions of Chinese citizens. By visiting Yasukuni, you are praising the aggressive actions of your country. Your actions show that you have no regrets and severely damage our relationship. Okay, now look at example B. I also wrote this. To the President of Japan, Japan has a long history of peace with China. Your country was the first in Asia to modernize and make prosperity for the people. Your achievements in science and society are remarkable. Furthermore, your legal changes after the war have brought many years of peace to Asia. I believe if you can change some of your visits to Yasukuni, you would be regarded as a great leader. Furthermore, your people and companies would see much greater prosperity because of improved economic relationships with our country. Now, which letter was better, A or B? B was better, right? Now, do you see how I used Carnegie's principles? One, his principle was never criticize. Okay, so I'm not criticizing. A was very critical. Okay, you see, it says, Carnegie says to praise people, to give appreciation, to praise people. You see, I'm praising them. I'm saying your legal changes are very, very good. We have a long history of peace. Okay, and then 3, seek to understand. Show the other person the benefit. Don't talk about your benefit. Talk about the other person's benefit. If you do this, you will be a great leader. Your economy will be better. The relationships will be better. So showing the benefit to the other person. Now the sad fact is that, in my opinion, in the real world, most politicians sound like letter A. Most of them don't sound so much like letter B. They sound like A, most of them. Okay. Here's another example. Letter to China from Japan about island claims. To the President of China, we demand that you stop your island claims in the sea. Your rapid military buildup is a threat to the peace and stability in Asia. Your actions show that China is a dangerous threat to Asia and the world. We will not tolerate your actions. If you do not stop, we will take more serious actions. Okay? So no praise, only criticism, and not showing any benefit to the other person. Now let's look at example B. To the President of China, since the 1970s, your country has achieved incredible economic success. Your smart economic policies have lifted millions of people out of poverty. Japan welcomes your peaceful and prosperous rise. We acknowledge Japan's past mistakes in war, and we praise you for your commitment to peace. We strongly believe we can find a solution that benefits your nation as well as maintains peace in the region. Again, obviously B is a much more powerful letter. It's much more likely to motivate the other person. So you have to think about the person reading the letter. What's their reaction? What is their reaction? And obviously, the person reading letter B will have a much better reaction, a much more positive reaction. Okay, so practice. Your neighbor plays loud music at night. You can't sleep. You want to write a letter to tell him to stop. Okay. What would you write? What would you say in your letter? So at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m., your neighbor plays loud music. What would you say? Anyone?
Okay. The next neighbor, if I know well that person, I will tell him directly. But if I don't know, maybe I will tell the owner of the building or janitor to explain that my neighbor is very loud.
Okay, but if you do that, how do you think he will feel? How do you think he'll feel?
How does he feel?
Yeah. If you do that, he probably won't feel so good, right? He'll feel very defensive. He'll feel, oh, that woman told the manager, now I have a bad reputation. Now the manager thinks I'm bad.
Actually, it depends on person, yeah.
But if someone else is very difficult for me, just say stop listening to music during the night because I cannot sleep well.
Okay, so let's listen to her example. Please stop the music at night because I cannot sleep well. Okay. But that's your benefit. He doesn't care about your benefit.
After 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, it's supposed to be,
Sure.
yeah.
But he doesn't care. He wants to have fun.
Your sense of music is very nice.
Right. Okay. Quite good. Yeah.
Nice. If you listen daytime, more good. So I'd like to listen with you daytime.
Yes. That's exactly what I would say. That's what I would say. So remember Dale Carnegie's 3 principles, right? Never criticize, give praise and appreciation, and show understanding from the other person's benefit. Okay? So I would say what she would say. 1, don't criticize. You say, you have wonderful taste in music. Your music selection is great. Okay? You are clearly an artistic and good person. If you play your music during the day, the whole neighborhood would know what a musical person you are. The whole neighborhood would know your wonderful taste in music. Okay? So now you're praising.